All right, today is going to be the biggest bunch of disjointed stuff I have ever produced for y'all. Hey there, I'm Johnny B. It's Saturday. On weekdays, if you're new to the channel, I do a Shazam show where we talk about memes and fun and culture and counterculture and F the government, all sorts of stuff. But today is going to be a little bit different, maybe a lot of bit different. And if at any point you want to bounce, if you don't mind hitting thumbs up, get on out of here. It's totally fine. Because I don't normally do videos like this. If you'll stay with me, I'm going to give you at the end two diverging theories of what I think about the Cybertruck vehicle-borne IED situation. Two theories, one of which I think is pretty plausible and probably where maybe we're at least in part, maybe partially wrong. I'm also going to give you some resources. I'm going to share with you where you should go next, these two books, and I'm going to tell you what this toilet paper roll has to do with you and how this right here has changed my thinking. I'm going to give you my lenses and how I think about this whole situation. It's going to be disjointed. It's going to be incomplete. If you want to get out of here, hit thumbs up and bounce. That's totally fine. Today's episode is brought to you by HiddenHybridHolsters.com. They sponsor this channel. I trust them. Fantastic product. I am thrilled to be able to represent them because they're so solid, and I want to send you over there, HiddenHybridHolsters.com. So this guy, Matthew Livelsberger, lights off a vehicle-borne IED. I want to talk to you about that. But I'm going to get into areas that have nothing to do with that at all, but will help you parse information and be able to look and research and do your own work in your own way. Some of you all know my background. Humility is knowing what you're good at and knowing what you're not good at. There are things I am not good at, spreadsheets and detail, like really fine minutia stuff. I don't really enjoy. I really enjoy the 10,000-foot view, and I'm good at it. A couple things I'm good at. One is I can make people think, or at least throw things out there that will make you stop. I'm going to say things today that make you stop. When I do, chase it, research it, and don't listen to the mainstream media or eat the pablum of the masses. I also am good at, or I do it well, for those of you that are English majors, what I do well is I can parse information and find similarities. I take the 10,000-foot view. I don't go too high, but I'm not I'm not minutia guy. I can find similarities. Today, I was going through all this information. I hollered at a friend of mine. I said, hey, there's this thing right here that wasn't exactly, it was this. And I took two things, I put them together, and I hadn't seen this, and he goes, a guy that I trust, and he said, yeah, so-and-so in the mainstream media, a pretty big name, had already said the same thing. I thought that was interesting that I had found the same conclusion he had. When I say something today that makes you think, go chase it, that's your brain saying, yeah, let's go. Most people today in America, they don't seek information, they seek confirmation. People that dislike the government like I do tend to jump on Fox News and they hear Nancy Pelosi is bad. And then we go, yep, yes, she is. Here. And we smack the table or bang our beer on the bar top and go, yes, she is. She's bad. And that is confirmation of what I already believe. And that's unfortunate. I'm going to talk about things over the next few minutes that are not going to confirm. They're going to make you go, what, Ethel? What? Matthew Livelsberger lights off a vehicle-borne IED inside of an armored vehicle. Now, the Tesla Cybertruck is not marketed as armored. It's marketed as bulletproof, which is the same thing. This guy, by all accounts, his tradecraft is solid. He knows what he's doing, especially when it comes down to operations like this. And we are told and fed pablum that we're supposed to believe like they've been feeding us for the last 100 years, and we just nod along, oh yeah, JFK was killed by a guy in a tower with two shots that fast, one of which went in a direction that couldn't have happened. Yes, that's what happened. It doesn't work. Everything isn't a conspiracy. But when they feed us garbage like this, I think it's our responsibility to stop and go, wait, what's really going on? This guy had tradecraft. He would not go and get a vehicle that is been shown repeatedly on YouTube to be bulletproof and light off a vehicle-borne IED made out of fireworks. That is not how it's going to work. And then they tell us that his body is burned beyond recognition, but his plastic ID was not. Holy guacamole, I ain't buying it. It is fish. It is fishy at best, and at worst, it is terrifying. You throw a rock in a pond, the circles go out, and there are concentric circles where they're talking in this story about vehicle-borne IEDs, and it gets worse on talking about Iranian missiles coming into the U.S. on U.S. soil currently, as well as future terrorist attacks, not terrorism done by MK Ultra psychotropic drug-addled teenagers in schools, but done by actual organizations overseas. You know who I'm talking about. And on the same day, we've got the guy in New Orleans doing his nonsense, and by nonsense, I mean murder, horrific stuff, and he's got an ISIS flag. Some are saying he was just a wannabe poser who got that flag on the internet. Others are saying he was an actual operative of them. I don't know about that one. I spent all day today chasing this story. I think the best resource for chasing this story specifically, before I get to the books, I think is the Shawn Ryan show. A lot of y'all have seen it. Millions have already watched it. On the Shawn Ryan show, Sam Shoemate was on there, and yesterday, they went live yesterday, and he had this week received an email from Matthew Livelsberger outlining a lot of stuff, and it gets a really, really wild in there. Now, they say on this show that this email they don't 100% trust it. It's not fully verified, but they do have it. I do know this. We do trust Sam Shoemate. There is an individual that I texted today, and I know he'll watch this. What's up, brother? That I trust, that is positioned to know this, and I can't say who it is, but he is positioned to know a lot of the players in this game, and as well as having the information and the experience to be able to dissect this information. And I hollered at him. I said, "What do you know about Sam Shoemate?" And he's like, "Oh, dude, trust. TRUST." Typed it out. And I think for me, there's a principle that I really want to work through right now. If this is the thing that you chase it. There's going to be something you chase today in your own research. I was talking to some guys the other night, and I talked to Dad about the same thing over Christmas. The thing I love about current Joe Rogan, because he was different 5 years ago, he was very different 10 years ago. Current Joe Rogan is really good. Y'all remember Chainsaw Logan y'all remember Chainsaw Logan? Chainsaw Logan and I were talking last night about this. Joe Rogan is really good at just letting something sit right here. So let it sit right in his hand. Here is a battery charger for my camera. And that is a battery charger for my camera. That is nothing else. It is a battery charger for my camera. There's nothing else implied there, and there's no other applications to this. You could assume that I own a camera based on this, but you don't know it. You could assume that I have the little block that goes into the wall, but you don't know it. All you know is that I have a battery charger for my camera. Joe Rogan last summer, I think it was last summer, had on a guy on his channel whose name escapes me, who is the keeper of the knowledge or the baton carrier, the torch bearer of we didn't land on the moon theories. And he pulled out and showed Rogan a photo that NASA released in the 60s. That's verifiable. That was not taken on the moon. That is also verifiable. And the researcher tapped the picture and said, "See, that is proof we didn't land on the moon." Oh, chills. I freaking love this. And Joe Rogan says, "No, that is proof that NASA lied about data they put out, at least in this one instance, about landing on the moon. All we know is that one battery charger. All we know is that image right there was not taken on the moon, and we were lied to about it. That's all we know." You can extrapolate a little bit, but not much. I love that. I absolutely love that. What we know is this. Here's what's sitting in our hand. An email that looks like it was verified was sent to Sam Shoemate from Matthew Livelsberger concerning what was going on in the days before he was allegedly either took his own or was offed and blew up a IED in front of the Trump Hotel. Now, In that email, it gets wacky, and all of a sudden, that's why I came down here today and said, okay, I got to jump into the middle of this. In the middle of that email, this email comes in, and there's a lot in there. The first thing I want to point out is he says, hey, I am Matthew Livelsberger. I am of sound mind. You can check out my first car. It was a black Ford Mustang V6, and that's what got my attention. That right there got my attention. In data, in research, especially in academic research, which that is my background, academic research, is a thing called the ring of truth. I have talked to the Patreon folks about this before, and if you can't tell, I'm getting fired up. And this is what gets me fired up, is the ring of truth. You hear something, you go, truth. You know it. We don't go through our life based on feelings. We go through based on data. In fact, I got that. However, and this is an actual principle in research called the ring of truth. I saw that and I perked up big time. V6. There are those saying that the email was faked. There are those saying that the lines underneath it, hey, this word is misspelled, shows that it was fake. I'm going to say this. If somebody that works for a 3-letter agency faked this email, they might have gone and looked up and seen what his first car was to give a little historical reference, something only he and maybe his dad would know. But they would not have included the V6. Think about it. That is something a grown man thinking back to his 16-year-old self, 17-year-old self. Man, I got a Ford Mustang, a black Ford Mustang, and it was awesome. He has called that black Ford Mustang a V6 Ford Mustang or a black Mustang V6 his entire life. That's a ring of truth. Pause right there. The most accurate piece of data that I think I have seen in the last year, and I talked to the Patreon folks about this a while back. Welcome to Long Form Video and Johnny Talking. The most accurate thing that I have seen in a long time that I see, and we know that oral tradition works. What you hear, the stories you hear orally, verbal stories, they have rings of truth in them. They have actual data in them. The Anasazi were a group of people, and for 50 or 80 years, researchers, archaeologists didn't know who they were. And the Navajo, the people of the Navajo today went, the Anasazi, that's us. We came from the rocks and we came down to the plains, and it worked out. We got that data and we got pointed in the right direction to figure out who the Anasazi people were based on the oral tradition of the Navajo. When I say this next thing, you're going, oh, Ethel, he's lost his mind. I get it. It's wild. The story of the Peruvian face peelers. It's a wild story. Some guys from Knoxville, the short version, last December, there were some black-clad, black-clothed men on hovercraft that were going into villages or going into areas near villages. We don't know. And the villagers down in Peru were seeing these guys and seeing what their technology could do, and they could get on these hovercraft and with a sound like air escaping, a compressor, it wasn't air, but my opinion, they were able to do superhuman things, interesting. But there was one little girl, some guys from Knoxville went down to Peru to research this. And they were interviewing this little girl, and this one little girl, oh my gosh. If this was written by a science fiction guy, if this was written by a government operative, they would never, this is V6, they would never have said it. This little girl said when these two guys got her, trapped her, kidnapped her, they had her, black-clad human figures wearing some sort of outfits with really good technology strapped to their feet. They started arguing with each other. Kind of interesting. You got my attention. And she said one of them, and I don't know, in Peru, do they speak Portuguese or Spanish? I don't know, or some Indian dialect. I don't know. She said one of the guys, they were both men, one spoke like me, spoke like her, spoke like the little girl, spoke a language that she understood, and the other one spoke the same language but with a gringo accent. Oh, I got chills when I heard that. I'm like, that's accurate. They may not be face peeling down there. They're not aliens. They're humans. They may not be military. They may not be of a state. They may be from a private company. I don't know, and I don't know what they're doing. But I do know this, a little girl heard two arguing, and one, this is all that's sitting in my hand, one spoke Gringo, a Gringo dialect, and one spoke her dialect, and that's wild. When I heard that V6 situation, that V6, I read that V6 in the email, I went, bang, that's it. Within there is some wild stuff, hints of terrorism, hints of Iranian missiles. These are all not in that email, but they are all connected. Hints of Iranian missiles on U.S. soil. That is wild. Now, that friend of mine that I talked to this morning that is in position to know, I literally trust him with my life, and he knows some of the players in this. He's positioned to know. It's all I can say. Positioned to know. He told me there were two standouts because we texted back and forth for a couple hours this morning. He said two things. Now, the CID, that you can think about that as the Army's FBI. They operate under different rules of engagement or how they're allowed to operate. They operate differently with people in the military. Once you sign up to be in the military and you go underneath those rules, they don't follow the Constitution. They follow their own rules. And what is wild is that CID, these are the two things that my friend, who I trust, pointed out. One, CID showed up in Shawn Ryan's phone before the episode aired. That's wild. And the second thing, and we know this, is that the Army chief, the chief of staff, the Army cheese, knew about the email that was sent to Sam Shoemate before the show aired. This individual who was positioned to know said that that would have taken days, if not weeks, or a long time. I don't know the actual timeline. And he said that there would have been 25 to 30 officers in the chain before it gets to the chief. And yet the chief is in the middle of it before the show airs. Now you got my attention. Now you got me coming down to the studio on a Saturday instead of watching football with my buddies. I don't care about football, but I care about my buddies. And I should be sitting down there with them having a cigar. I'll be there in a little bit, fellas. I believe the crux of the email, there's a lot in the email. I believe the crux of the email is the comments about war crimes. What happened in 2019 overseas, I believe that's the crux of the email. Matthew Livelsberger, said that he was being followed by a 3-letter agency and that he had created a vehicle-borne IED. He is good enough if his plan was to blow up the tower or do significant damage to the tower, the hotel, the Trump area, it would have not been inside of a Cybertruck. I believe that was his self-protection against what he was being followed about. I'm making that up. I don't know. But here's a crazy part, a crazy wrinkle, is that after the body was found, and Sam Shoemate confirmed this, it looks like Matthew Livelsberger's Signal account, Signal is another social media, Instagram, Twitter, that kind of stuff. Signal's another one, a lot more private. His Signal account was changed, and the only way to change that is to be inside the account and have the name and password. And the phone number, the backup phone number that was established, that was on that account, was changed after kaboom. Leads me to believe a lot of different things, but this guy has tradecraft, and I believe he was protecting himself, and I personally don't think he was in the truck, or at least that's at least one plausible explanation. He he was an operator. He lights off fireworks in an armored vehicle. He uses a Desert Eagle. What operator is going to use a Desert Eagle? Desert Eagles are made, and I have one, are made for Instagrammers, and it's fun with your buddies. It's nothing real. It's not something. They jam. That first round coming out of the mag jams. I believe he's still alive. And then this other wrinkle happens. The other reason I pressed record, and maybe what you're going to chase. This is the third time I filmed this video. I got a little wild at this point, so my voice is a little bit shot. In this email, and I believe the crux and the purpose of this email is war crimes, that Matthew Livelsberger was attempting to be a war crimes whistleblower, and they go nuts at that. The Military-industrial complex does not play around about their cash flow. They will do, we know this, they will do anything to create war. For more information, see Building 7. In this, he mentions, Matthew Livelsberger in the email mentions that the drone situation in New Jersey was Chinese, and he used the words gravitic propulsion. Now, I was hanging out with Randy, my buddy Randy, and he runs a YouTube channel called Randy Reviews It, and we were hanging out the other night, and he mentions gravitic propulsion. And there was a few people in the room, and he said, hey, Johnny, blah, 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 gravitic propulsion. I hadn't read the email yet because I'd been in a situation. I've been away. I've been on a trip for New Year's. And he said, did you know? I said, what's in the email? And he said, he's talking about gravitic propulsion. And I went, okay. And some other people in the room went, what? And I was like, okay. If we're going to talk about that, let's talk about that. Last summer, I spent literally the entire summer, parts of every day, at least a part of every day, chasing what we know and what we don't know about aliens. And when you say aliens, you immediately get roped into, purposefully roped into, by design by the Fed, weird people that believe that aliens live on other planets and come here and visit us in the night and probe our butts. So I chased it. I've talked about this on the Patreon before. I'm not arguing anything today. I'm not sharing any new information that I haven't talked about before. There's a lot of theories. I believe very much in a continuum, a big continuum from what we know to what is complete conjecture. The sky is blue. We don't argue that. All the way to maybe there's starships in the constellation or the area, the group of star clusters, the Pleiades, and maybe there's civilization in the Pleiades. It's all the way at what I don't believe, but I like to talk about. And there's a continuum. The exact point between what I believe and I know and what I don't know is Michelle Obama's penis. And I don't say that to be funny, though it is funny. I am exactly 50-50 on him or her. Gravitic propulsion. There was a gentleman named Bob Lazar. A lot of y'all know him. He is the original whistleblower from Area 51. And what's wild for me, and if you want to have a little fun, jump on there and see how fast on Google you can find him being discredited. Then, if you get wacky, spend a whole summer researching this stuff, and you'll find out, maybe that discredit is actually a psyop in itself. It's a lot of fun. I 100% believe Bob Lazar. In the continuum with Michelle Obama's penis sticking up right here, Bob Lazar is in this section for me. I 100% believe him. 100%, I do. Now, he may have wrong conclusions. He may explain things wrong, misremember things wrong. He's just a guy, and he's been through a lot. He probably has PTSD, but I do believe that he was in Area 51, 100%. There are two things that we know. They are all the way in this area. Everything else are maybe, and we're going to get to this right here in just a second. We know that there are beings that people see. They've been seeing them for hundreds, if not thousands of years. There are 50,000 sightings a year in the United States alone of these beings, one of which are the tall ones with the big eyes, and then there's the short ones, the 3-foot tall ones, the grays. People don't see a fourth or fifth or a sixth kind. That's all they see. Every report that comes in is one of the two. It's been in government documents. They have, I don't want to go through all of it, but it's been testified in front of Congress. It's in the congressional record by people that are in the know. It is not arguable. The other thing is that they're ships. Some big, some small, some shaped like a tic-tac, some shaped round, some shaped like a disc with a roundy top and a roundy bottom. But we know that they exist. That's it. Everything else is on this side. We know they exist. congressional record. They follow our warships, the U.S. warships, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, sometimes in small numbers, sometimes in large numbers, sometimes in formation, sometimes in a pyramid formation, but they follow. They seem to follow the nuclear-powered vehicles a little more often or a lot more often. They seem to either go into the ocean to leave or they come out of the ocean to arrive. That's all we know. There are beings and there are ships. These ships that we know that are real do not operate under normal gravity law. Bob Lazar in the 80s worked on an anti-gravity or whatever you want to call it, a gravitational machine. And based on what I read and researched and all of that stuff last summer, it looks like probably, and this is in congressional record, that we are in a technology race with the other superpowers to figure this technology out. That there is technology out there that we don't have, and we are in a race to get it. One of the primary things is gravity stuff, and there's stuff that's been patented on this. You can chase it if you want to. This is a toilet paper roll. This is my entire world. This is my world right now, today, on Saturday. And when I pull this up to my eye, I am seeing my world right there, and everything else is blocked out. Our beliefs, our backgrounds, our natural wirings, the way we grew up, and what we find plausible, or what we're like, Ethel, he's just making that up, constrict to a point of myopia and cuts everything else out. You've heard the phrase this, that when you look at a war, to the theologian, all wars is about doctrine and religion. To the economist, all wars are about money and the transference of wealth. To the military guy, to the generals, all wars are about power and the transference of territory and getting to a place where you are in a better position. And you can extrapolate to the all wars are about. We do the same thing with our myopia and our little telescope. I mentioned aliens one time on Patreon, really fun. A nice guy, was very polite. And he said, well, those are just demons. And I'm like, okay, and I believe in demons. Bible talks about them. Bible talks about messengers and angels, and that's it. There's a few other big beings, a few other things out there, but as far as like ongoing, repeated beings that are not human in the Bible, you got the word messenger. I believe this with all the way to blue. We don't have all the pieces that we are looking through just a piece. The Bible says we look through a glass darkly. What does that mean? We're looking through stained glass. We don't see everything. The point is this, there's more out there. Clearly, all the way to the sky is blue, there is more out there. Whatever country, now let me bring this back to today in 2025. Weird to say, isn't it? 2025. Whatever country figures out the technology, don't pull down the telescope and go, it's an alien and it's from Mars or another planet. It probably is interdimensional. Possibly lives under the ocean, possibly lives, and there's people that believe they live in, we're going over Michelle Obama's ample penis, all the way over here that they live under the earth in different models. That's way out there. What we do know is that there's technology that is beyond what we can buy at Walmart. And what we do know is that whatever country gets that technology wins Earth. That is verifiable. I want to make a big pause right here. About 1,000 of y'all have said, hey, did you know that Tim Kennedy? Yeah, that Tim Kennedy, stolen valor Tim Kennedy, complete fraud Tim Kennedy. He trained with Matthew Livelsberger. Yeah, I followed all of that. I also followed this morning where on Fox and Friends, Tim Kennedy told them, wait, what? Yeah, I was on a TV show with him, and it took me 36 hours to figure out, who is this guy? And then also on the Shawn Ryan show, there were emails that were shown on screen where he was explaining in detail Matthew Livelsberger's character and his prowess as an operator in detail. Which was it, Tim Kennedy? Ooh, who is he? Versus, I know exactly who he is. The guy is a fraud. Yes, I know he's in the middle of this, in the middle of all of this. Let me give you one more thought, and then I'm gonna give you two diverging theories. The government ain't organized, people. They are a mess of people. All people are messy, and they are a mess. The different agencies don't cooperate or work well with each other. They do work in conjunction, but they don't always talk to each other. Never forget the government is not some massive, well-oiled machine. They're a mess. And also don't forget that there are other entities operating in between the Atlantic Ocean and the Pacific Ocean, other entities that have nothing to do with the United States. And I ain't talking about aliens and little green men. They're actually gray. They're not green. They're not talking about little gray men. I'm talking about actual agencies that supersede and are much more powerful than the Washington and Pentagon and all that. So never forget that. That's who are Peruvian face peeling, if you ask me. All right, let me give you two diverging theories. I'm going to tell you about a couple things that you can check out. This guy was on the run for his life and emailed out to a lot of people. Matthew Livelsberger, and he emailed out to Sam Shoemate, and he's small enough where he actually saw the email. He saw an Instagram message that led him to the email. Shawn Ryan, in the middle of that podcast, stopped the podcast, and they went and dug through their email, and they found one from him also, from Matthew Livelsberger also. So he had apparently reached out to a lot of, my opinion, reached out to a lot of folks. He did two that we know about. He was reaching out on the run. I believe that. I do believe that's what the data looks like. He was on the run because he was going to be a whistleblower on the 2019 atrocities in Afghanistan. And we know that they were after him based on the email, three-letter agencies. We know that he had a vehicle-borne IED, and we know he was very good at his craft. Now we diverge. Either they got him, and one of the ways they discredit him is to put out the story that his child wasn't really his child. He was distraught. He pulled up, did a kaboom, kaboom, and then did a boom, big boom, boom. And it was just a big suicide, send a message. Mr. Guns and Gear has, and they mentioned that on Shawn Ryan's show, shown very clearly there was no signature of that Desert Eagle in the moments before. It's not plausible. But one theory of the diverging two, they got him, they drove it there. He was probably, either way, the body was gone before it got there. Either way, the body was gone. One theory is that they pull up, they use it to discredit him, that he is the body that's in there, already gone, and they discredit him. One of the three-letter agencies discredit him. The other one, which I'm a little more leaning into, is that he is still very much alive. Matthew Livelsberger is very much still alive. That wasn't his body. And he was sending a message, and a very safe message. Echoes for me of Rambo, First Blood 1, the first one, where he sent messages but didn't hurt anybody. Obviously one person got hurt, but nobody in the street got hurt. If he wanted to hurt people, he could have. He has the skills and the trade craft. I want to challenge you and give you a few resources. Remember this, Fox News is in the business of selling insurance and acid reflux medication to boomers. I like Fox News. I was there today. I read Fox News. I don't watch Fox News. I don't watch the show, but I go to their website regularly. Giant, pack your mouth full of salt, take it with a grain of salt. Same as CNN, MSNBC, and all the other ones we know, those are a lot less credible. I like Fox News, but never forget they sell ads, and their only job is to sell ads, not to bring truth. Never forget that. It is all propaganda, but it's still part of the conversation. Check out the Shawn Ryan show. That episode is worth watching. You can 2X it, watch it in double speed, and it's still totally doable, 2X. I watch it in 2X. I'm going to give you a couple here to check out. This is the beginning, I think, if you want to do some fun research towards what is out there. This is not spooky. It is not through the lens of a King James only Baptist. It is, which is fine if that's your lens. But this is through what I believe a really solid researcher, and she got into it not as a believer and stumbled into some wild stuff. Her name is D.W. Pasulka. And her first book is American Cosmic. The second is Encounters, Experiences with Non-Human Intelligences. These are rational and sane. These are not hyperbole. These are really interesting. They're going to make you think. Do I believe them? Michelle Obama's wiener, I'm over here. Yeah, I think there's some things in here that have the ring of truth, and I'm like, all right, that's really wild. 100%? No, not at all. Not at all. But a wonderful, wonderful starting place. If you have interest in any of this stuff, just do a real quick research on Joe Rogan guests over the last 5 years and just watch 4 or 5 episodes of that based on what you like. If you like aliens, Sumerian texts, if you like the mysteries of things like the Great Pyramid of Giza and those kind of things, just research that and have some fun. And we try to do less of this and more of this right here. I'm not talking about opening our mind to just anything. I am a Christian. I'm not a very good one. I believe the Bible. But I also believe that Bible and that text is everything we need as humans to be Christians on this earth and to connect with our Lord. But I also believe it's an incomplete book, and I don't mean that in any crazy way. Don't put words in my mouth, Ethel. I also believe that there's some sciencey stuff and history stuff and maybe some ships that have been here for a long time. Some of the alien ships were found way deep in the dirt. Maybe they're really, really old. Maybe really, really old. I don't know. All I'm saying is there's more, and we have to get away from the toilet paper roll view of our entire world. My voice hurts. That was long. Let me know what you think. Go do your own research. Do it wisely and figure out which side of Michelle Obama's penis you find your information on. That's a lot of fun. Hey, thanks for being a part of this. Appreciate a thumbs up on the way out. I'll be back Monday for Hard Truth Monday. Thanks for being a part. See you soon.
I won't never slack up, get your money back up. Try and cuss my voter and your bounty gets smacked up. Get up, stand up, throw your MAGA hats up. If you got the feeling, Kamala's unappealing. Trump's got the hot flow, Dems are talking junk though. I got shot in my ear, certify me as the GOAT, yo. Working, chat to peeps.
This gun fits my hand better than this one does.
Diabetes.